contains an interview from a woman who at the time said she was 13 years old when Donald Trump allegedly assaulted her. Again, this is an interview that took place with the FBI. Let's go ahead and get into it, ladies and gents. I think we're starting to see why Donald Trump's presidency has been a complete chaotic nightmare. He's trying to distract you from other things. Check this out.
Let's get to some breaking news that is still unfolding. The Trump Justice Department has just uploaded new FBI documents missing from the initial releases of the Epstein files. Right now, MS Now is pouring through these new files. We are taking our time to make sure we get it right, and we want to be careful on what we report on air. Here is what we can tell you right now. 3 of these documents are FBI 302 memos, notes that FBI agents used to summarize witness interviews. These notes contain unsubstantiated sexual assault allegations against Donald Trump. Specifically, they detail an unsubstantiated account of a woman.
Hey, I got a Uber Eats for Hector E. Thank you. Sorry.
At this point in her life, when there was a strong possibility nothing could be done about it.
So again, I think we have to be very clear here that the FBI had this information for years. So this isn't a tip. This wasn't just let me just call in and make a tip. This was an interview that was conducted with the FBI. They knew. They've known for a long, long time. That includes Pam Bondi as well with the DOJ. They sat on this information. And this expands multiple presidencies, by the way. So everybody has this information. Let's continue.
There are many redactions on these forms. Trump has long denied any wrongdoing connected to Jeffrey Epstein. To discuss, let's bring in MS Now senior legal reporter, Lisa Ruby.
Lisa, again, I want to just reiterate what Alicia just said for our viewers is we are definitely combing through all of these because these are the 302s. These forms, these FBI interview intake forms were the thing that, as we have interviewed survivors of Jeffrey and Ghislaine Maxwell's abuse over the course of the last couple of months, the things that they themselves most wanted to see in the files. And so the fact that today we've gotten at least 2 of these by my count, you may have more, I think it's important, and it is important that we get this right. Talk to us. There's a lot in here. Anybody that has had a chance to take a look at these, they talk a little bit about blackmail. They talk about an intimidation campaign. Obviously, those allegations against then citizen Donald Trump. Walk us through how we should be looking through all this.
So I do want to just interject here because I think it's very interesting that this is coming from Symone Sanders. Symone Sanders, let's all remember, worked with the Biden campaign and wanted nothing to do with the allegations that came from Tara Reade against Biden. Tara Reade still stands by her story till this day. So this just goes to show you how people are making this partisan, because when there were women, and Tara Reade was not the only one, when there were women that had allegations of sexual harassment and sexual assault against Joe Biden during his time as a senator, Symone Sanders did not say, this is important, we need to hear the women, because it was implicating someone that was on her team. So I do think it's important that we call out these inconsistencies. I'm not one here to sit up here and tell you I'm going to talk about allegations against one party but not the other. We're calling all of it out on this show. I do have to remind you of that, though. So if it was important, as Symone Sanders says, why was she willing to ignore the women that came forward about Joe Biden? Because that was someone on her team. So we got to call it out on this show. This is not MS Now. This is not Fox News. This is not CNN.
So Symone, we have already seen an initial interview with this same alleged victim and accuser of both Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein in the files. We knew that there were 3 others. In fact, MS Now joined NPR and an independent journalist, Roger Sullenberger, in reporting on how we figured out that those documents were in fact missing from prior productions. So the first thing I want to say is that we now know that these in fact existed, that they were in the Department of Justice's possession, and that their claims that these documents were duplicates is just not credible, because in reading them, they don't sound like any document that any lawyer considers a duplicate. A duplicate is usually an email exchange or a text exchange where you produce one portion of it and then maybe you later see a longer portion of it. That is not what this is. What these are 3 additional Form 302s reflecting 3 additional interviews of this same woman, culminating in an October 2019 interview where, as Alicia just said, she tells the FBI that she is aware that because of when she alleges her abuse occurred, and specifically because it was in the 1980s, and we're now talking to her in 2019, she tells the agents that she's aware the statutes of limitation of any viable federal violation may have run. She asks the agents, what's the point? And I think the agent's response here is just as interesting as some of her allegations, as salacious as they are, and as unverifiable and unverified as they are, because the agent says all victims of crime should have the opportunity to tell their story, and they wanted to give her that opportunity if she wanted to, and she just didn't take it. To me, this is significant because we knew that this woman had allegations about Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump, who she says she met when she was a teenager, and that both of them sexually abused her. What we didn't know is how it ended. And now we're seeing that the way that it likely ended is that the woman refused to cooperate with federal law enforcement authorities. She said that she understood that Trump was the president. She had contact with him when she was a minor, and she was asked if she was comfortable detailing it. She just again reiterated, what would be the point of providing this information at this point in my life when there was a strong possibility nothing could be done about it?
Well, to be fair, is she correct? I mean, aside from a couple of arrests that have happened in Europe, who's been arrested here in the United States? So this woman knew that she was around very powerful people at that point in time, and they've gotten away with this. Jeffrey Epstein got away with this for a long time. So to be fair, she was right when she said that nothing would be done about it. I am somewhat surprised about the statute of limitations, though, because I was under the impression that if someone was abused or assaulted as a minor, that if you're a child, the statute of limitations doesn't apply. So I am kind of confused by that. I thought that children did still have that protection even when they become an adult. But apparently, I guess in this case, they're saying not the case. I don't know. I do not like the way that woman framed that. The woman who was sitting there that was just speaking to Simone Sanders, she didn't cooperate with the FBI. She told her story. The FBI had this information. Donald Trump was not implicated. And also during that time, Jeffrey Epstein wasn't implicated. Going through the files, which we will see, the abuse from her allegedly took place from Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. So if the FBI had that information, which apparently they did, they could have gone after them a long time ago, and they chose not to. So apparently she was correct when she said that nothing would be done about it. It's just, the way she framed that, we got to stand by and stick up for survivors. And the reality is a lot of these powerful people, they do get away with it, and they've been getting away with it for a long time. Jeez Louise.
At that point in the interview, the agents, and I'm reading from this 302, or rather I'm trying to characterize it, basically said, go home. Take an opportunity to think about it. We're here if you want us to be. And it doesn't appear that the woman ever availed herself of that opportunity. Instead, 2 weeks later, as we know from documents that are already in the files, one of her lawyers contacted the FBI and said, basically, from now forward, your communications with this alleged victim, they go through us.
I think it's also important to remember that according to the information in the files, this woman said that her and her mother were being threatened. They were receiving threatening phone calls. They were receiving recommendations to not want to continue to talk about this was probably due to the threats that were coming their way, right? These victims, they come forward and then they're not really offered protection. Look at what happened to Virginia Giuffre. She was one of the first that I saw to come forward, and she's dead. And her family, and I agree with them, do not believe that Virginia Giuffre unalived herself. I don't either. She made it very clear that she was not in that mental state. Think about all the attacks, all the threats that Virginia Giuffre received after she came forward. And Virginia Giuffre also had children. And that's another thing that she had to think about. You know, a lot of these, at the time they were girls, who are now women, have families now, have kids, have other people that they have to protect, and they don't want to be targeted. So this whole, well, she didn't go forward or tell more information with the FBI. I mean, come on, again, these people are not protected. A little bit more here and we'll get to that file.
You know, Lisa, just listening to you describe and share that aspect of it, you can feel the frustration of the victim there. You can feel the anxiety, and it really, you know, for me, and y'all have heard me press this around this table, and certainly our audience has, about the redactions and the importance of exposing who these men are. You already referenced, Licia did as well in the intro, about how heavily redacted these documents are. Not just the documents that we've already seen, but these 302s in particular. Talk a little bit more about the redaction. Is there anything that can be done about the redaction? Because I firmly believe the moment you can pull back the cover on a name and expose it fully, you have vindicated these women. And that frustration that that I felt when you were reading what she said to that agent, be addressed.
Michael, it's a really, really tricky thing, right? Because I agree with you. I talk to a lot of these survivors, including survivors for whom 302s are already in the files. And when I speak to them, I often learn things that you can't see in these produced 302s because of how heavy the redactions are. I'm thinking about someone I even spoke to earlier today. At the same time, there are members of Congress who obviously we know have access to see these files. They can see what we cannot. And yet, we know from the experiences of certain members that when they try to put those names in the public domain, oftentimes they're not the people that they think they are. They make assertions about who they believe these people to be, and then find out, you know, lo and behold, they are not those folks at all. It's somewhat of a dangerous game that we are all playing here. And the only people that are able to see these documents in their fully unredacted form either work at the Department of Justice, or they are elected as members of the House of Representatives in the United States Senate. And that
We have to pause here for a second. One of the things that Thomas Massie said was that even some of the files that he saw still had heavy redactions. So it's just weird to me. Like, I feel like people are trying to put the blame and the responsibility on everybody else except for the perpetrators. And maybe I'm alone in this, but that's what it seems like to me, that everybody's trying to pass the buck to someone else, except for the people who did these crimes and did this harm. I don't want to hear that it's a complicated thing. Oh, it's complicated. We got to redact this because if it's a female, then it might be a victim. And then da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You know who the victims are if you read the files. The DOJ knows who the allegations are coming from in the files. They have implemented redactions, yeah, okay, to protect the victims, but also there are men who were redacted. That was one of the things that, of course, Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna were able to point out with Lex Wexner. Lex Wexner wasn't a victim. Why was his name redacted for so damn long? So come on, man. I'm not buying this at all. And I think that, you know, I'm starting to wonder about her, but I'm really starting to think that this lack of transparency, it's intentional, number one, but also they never had any intention on getting justice for these victims. By they, I mean the DOJ, Pam Bondi, the Trump administration, the administrations before them. They never had any intention on getting justice for these victims, because the people who are implicated, as you guys have seen, are very powerful people. And also some of these people have donated to politicians in both political parties. Taking them down means taking down other people too. Also, there's people from Israel that are implicated. Ud Barak is all throughout the files. So they don't want to go after Israel. It's so ridiculous. And I feel like MS Now is just kind of skating around the issue instead of just telling you what I just said. Because they're owned too. You know, don't look at who's on the screen. Look at who the shareholders are of MS Now, of CNN, of Fox News, and that will tell you everything that you need to know.
That is the unfortunate reality in which all of us, including and most importantly, the survivors are living right now.
This comes as just yesterday, the House Oversight Committee voted to subpoena Pam Bondi in this probe. What do you make of the timing of this release?
I think that this release has a lot to do with that response. There was some reporting last week in both The Guardian and in Breitbart discrediting this particular accuser, quoting from the same 302s that had been produced. And of course, people like me were wondering, how did they possibly see those? So the fact that they are in the public domain right now, I think is an effort to quell some of the loud shouting that folks have done about our reporting and others, identifying these as documents that are missing from the production. And all I'll say about that is these may be the most salacious missing documents from the production, but they are hardly the only one. The Department of Justice has left behind indices of prior witness statements for more than 500 people, almost 600 people. And if you look at those indices carefully and you sort of reverse engineer it, you can see all sorts of instances where people whose names are known and people whose names are not known have prior statements in the form of 302s or handwritten notes that are missing from the files. Some of those people have also made allegations, Alicia, against other prominent people in American life. They may not have ever been elected president, but they are people that the committee might be interested in. They're certainly people for whom the survivor community is interested in seeing some accountability. I would like the Department of Justice to take seriously the possibility that their production was under-inclusive and non-compliant with the law.
Okay, so let me go ahead and jump in here. We're going to get into some of this information that has been released from these files. Number one,
Thank you, Jesus.
yeah, Nancy Mace brought forward that subpoena of Pam Bondi. You do have to question the timing. Yeah, it is very interesting that right after Pam Bondi has been subpoenaed to testify, that all of a sudden these files magically end up back in the DOJ, public domain, so where people can see them again. This is Pam Bondi trying to find a way to protect herself. As I told you last night, they've already decided who the fall guys are going to be, or fall girls, are going to be. And Pam Bondi, of course, is the easiest person to make the fall person here. You already see what's happening with the Trump administration. They already fired Kristi Noem. But remember, Kristi Noem took directions from who? From Donald Trump, she said. Pam Bondi takes directions from who? From Donald Trump. So Donald Trump is going to throw people under the bus that are part of his administration in order to protect himself. This is the reality. So I don't want you to see this and think this is full, justice.
I'll be right back. Let's see where we going. Who we got here? Chase. What's he got? He got Chicago pizza. Okay. I'll be back. Oh, my bad. Okay. This should be this. Oh, hold on. Which one? There's two of them, right? Okay, let me see. Should we get that? Find out. There it is, yep. Okay. killing it tonight. Almost done.
People that they really need to go after. And don't get me wrong, Pam Bondi is wrong for what she did. And yeah, she should be held accountable, but Donald Trump also should be held accountable. He should also has to testify. So
Absolutely.
these are the fall guys and gals that have been decided upon. Now, let's go ahead and get into one of the most damning things from the file. I want to go ahead and bring this up here. Power to the people. Trump started an illegal war to cover up illegal sex crimes against children. So this is the
Wagging the dog.
statement from the 13-year-old girl. Again, interview with the FBI. This is 2019. The interviewing agents asked blank to provide additional details regarding her first interaction with Donald Trump when she was approximately 13 to 15 years old. In either way, in either New York or New Jersey, and while also in the company of Jeffrey Epstein. Blank clarified that when she previously said Trump struck her after she bit him on his private parts, she provided further details that he pulled her hair and punched her on the side of her head. With respect to Blank's mother, Blank deceased, Blank recalled her mother spent approximately 2 years in federal prison in Columbia, South Carolina, around the time
Stop.
Blank was 17 or 18 years old. Blank's mother's sentence was related to an embezzlement conviction connected to being blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein and Jim Atkins over explicit photographs of Blank. This is another thing we have to point out. Jeffrey Epstein apparently had explicit photographs of the alleged victim, and he was allegedly using that to blackmail her mother. So this goes very deep. We'll get more into the Trump interaction in just a minute. It's wild, but this is what I was saying about victims choosing not to continue to talk about it or continue to give more details with what happened to them to the FBI. There's blackmail involved. There's threats that are involved. So keep this in mind. Blank asked whether Epstein had a sibling. The investigating agents inquired as to what made her think he had a sibling. Blank replied she recalled there was a man, possibly a brother of Epstein's, that she recalled from her past. Well, we all know that to be true because Jeffrey Epstein's brother has called into shows like News Nation. So we know that to be the case. As you can see, it says right here, Unclassified, that was August 20th, 2019. Let's go a little bit deeper. Melanie Stansberry shared this
They
part.
should get marked.
FBI
up in
interviews
there.
of Epstein Trump accuser. Read for yourself. Time to subpoena Trump. And this is where it gets really like, whoa. Again, August 2019. Blank could not recall the identities of the other individuals present. However, they all exited when Trump asked everyone to leave the room. Trump mentioned something to the effect of, "Let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be."
Dang.
Again, we all have to remember
Trump's going
this was
down.
during the time when Donald Trump was Donald Trump, the businessman, and just the businessman, not running for political office. So this is a long time ago. "Let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be," she alleged. It goes on to say, Trump unzipped his pants and put Blank head down to his private area. Blank bit the shit out of it. So I think you guys can use your imagination here. You know what I'm talking about. Trump struck Blank and said words to the effect of, "Get this little bitch the hell out of here." Wow. Blank advised she bit Trump's private area because he disgusted her. He had money. It reeked of him. At that point, people re-entered the room. No further information provided. Blank recalled a blonde, beautiful woman approaching her at some point the day after her interaction with Trump. The woman said, "Let me give you a tip, little girl, about your boobs. Wear a bra every night." Those words have stayed with her throughout the years. So we don't know who that blonde woman allegedly was. We also have to remember that current Epstein victims that have come forward and have spoken to people like Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie earlier on, and Virginia Giuffre, said that Donald Trump didn't do anything wrong, right? But this goes back to the 80s, from what I understand. Virginia Giuffre, if I remember correctly, started working with Epstein. Now, this is after she had worked at Mar-a-Lago. I believe this was in the 90s. So if my thinking is correctly here, this would have been before Virginia Giuffre was trafficked. This is why I said the people who came forward that said Trump did nothing wrong, you have to remember those are not all of the victims. Some of the victims are dead, like Virginia Giuffre and others that we may never know about. There's alleged bodies buried at Zorro Ranch. And then there are those that are afraid to come forward, which is understandable. Blank got the feeling the relationship between Epstein and Trump included a certain amount of jealousy. She thought Trump appeared jealous of Epstein, but at some point they ended up on level playing fields. Trump and Epstein sometimes used the terms fresh meat, untainted, and not jaded while referring to girls. At the time she heard it, Blank didn't understand the term not jaded. She subsequently looked up the word jaded. Blank stated she had 2 additional interactions with Trump, but she asked that the interview move on to a different subject for the time being. Blank discussed an additional interaction with Epstein and his associates where Epstein and the group brought acid, identities of additional individuals not provided. Epstein asked if Blank knew anything about acid. She replied that she did not. He asked her to try it first, then tell her friends where the party was going to be. Epstein gave Blank some of the acid to give to her friends. She did not recall hearing about acid on the island before Epstein introduced it, but she recalled that after he did, acid swept the island. So these girls were drugged. Reflecting on the interaction she had with Epstein up to that point, Blank advised that while she continued to be sexually abused by him, she began to feel like Epstein trusted her. The situation was still horrific, but she began to feel important. He knew she was keeping his secrets, specifically the things he said in front of her. And this is something I think sometimes people may not understand for those who are victims. Number one, this was a child. And she allegedly was abused multiple times. She alleges by Trump and by Epstein. And some people may hear this and say, why would she think he trusted her? Like, why would she even feel that way? Look at what he's doing to her. Number one, that was a child. Number two, if you look at the research and the studies, it is not uncommon for people to develop some type of attachment to their abuser. She goes on to say that he made her feel important. So keep that in mind. Something else that was interesting that has also been added back about her, this talks about prior information. It says that Blank was born in Binghamton, New York. We'll see some of this is still heavily redacted. Goes on to say that they moved to South Carolina. That's her mother, and her brothers. during approximately the last year of her elementary school. Blank remained on blank until she approximately was 16 years old. She recalled the possibility, started 11th grade there prior to moving to blank, South Carolina with her mother and her brother. Again, heavy redactions here. It goes on to say blank advised that until recently, blank was the only individual alive to whom blank confided incidents of abuse she endured when she was a child. Blank mother also knew about what happened to her, but her mother is deceased now. Blank never would have written down what happened to her. She did not keep a formal diary, and she did not make any recordings of any kind regarding the incidents.
Be right back. I'm so glad I clicked on this clickbait. Last one tonight. This next one is the last one tonight. All right, let's do it. Ending early tonight. A little bit, not really.
On blank, heavy redactions. At one point, when blank was approximately 13 years old and approximately blank, her mother asked blank whether she would like to start babysitting. Her mother was excited about the prospect and thought blank would make a great babysitter. When blank agreed, her mother put an advertisement for blank babysitting services in the packet she provided to renters and to owners. So listen to this. Soon after the ad went out in packets, blank's mother received a telephone call from a man who indicated he and his wife needed a babysitter for their child for the night. Blank could not recall how she traveled to the man's residence. However, she remembered thinking she hoped it would be a quick babysitting job so she could go back to enjoying the rest of her day. The house where blank met Jeff was a villa condo in Sea Pines Plantation area. She was unaware of whether he owned it or rented it. However, he probably rented it through her mother for an unknown period of time. The residence had a lot of books in it, and specifically there was one room similar to a library that included a large number of books. Blank recalled knocking on the front door, and the man she came to know as Jeff answered the door. Jeff appeared to be alone in the home. Blank specifically recalled wondering where his wife and child were. She never saw them. So she alleges that Jeffrey Epstein answered a babysitting ad, which she was, I guess at that time, trying to start babysitting, which is not uncommon for teenagers to do, especially back in the day. Jeffrey Epstein had no kids. This is 100% predator behavior. Listen to this part. Jeff offered cocaine to her, an alcoholic drink, and weed that day. Blank recalled that while she tried each previously, cocaine once before, alcohol and marijuana more than once previously, she had never before used all three at the same time. After accepting the drugs and alcohol from Jeff, everything got blurry and like a dream. Blank clarified that things slowed, which made her think later that something additional was added to the drink. While at the house, Jeff forced Blank to give him oral. When asked if she could clarify what she meant by force, Blank stated there was no verbal threat, but that yes, Jeff physically put his hands on her. Some of this I can't read on here.
Dang.
It's bad. So you guys get the gist of it, right?
Donald's done.
Predator behavior.
Donald's done.
Shout out to KT here who posted this as well. Epstein file, which was re-released after Bondi deleted it, includes evidence that Epstein and Trump were involved in blackmailing people, that Trump had illegal building permits and was heard talking about washing money through casinos. So here we go. You know, the typical mob-like activity. Here's the file number here for those who want it. And here's the screenshot. Listen to this. Epstein talked about blackmailing people in front of Blank. Blank was confident Trump knew Epstein blackmailed people because she heard Epstein and Trump talking about it. Blank stated she knew Trump had illegal building permits. Remember I told you about this before? She heard him, Trump, talking about washing money through casinos. Number 6 is Donald Trump's favorite number. Blank was not sure how she knew that, but she had heard it at one point. Blank stated that Epstein's blackmailing of her mother ruined the family. So here she alleges that Donald Trump was washing money through casinos. Now, let's just put all the pieces together, okay? Remember I told you that Donald Trump's mentor was Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn, infamous lawyer that was known for getting the mob off, right? He was known for making it so that when mobsters went to court, he was the guy that would be able to get them to be found not guilty. He was known as that corrupt individual. He's the same guy that always said, deny everything. Don't admit, don't apologize, don't take accountability. So that was Donald Trump's mentor. So you know he had mob ties, right? All right. We know that Donald Trump was a part of the construction business also during the 70s, when a lot of times in New York City, construction was done through the mob. Walk with me here. That's how it was back then. She said that there were illegal building permits. Okay. Now I want you to tie this to Donald Trump's connection to Erica Kirk. Remember we went through Erica Kirk's family? Remember I told you about Jack Solomon, who's also in the casino business? This is the guy that married one of her female relatives, and he went out there and built casinos in Vegas, and we were trying to figure out whether or not the movie Casino might also have been about him. There's some truths in that movie, loosely based on real events. The point that I'm trying to make is this: all these people are connected.
Yup.
Erica Kirk had people in her family with casino
Yeah.
ties. Donald Trump, casino businesses.
Yup.
This woman here talking about
CIA.
washing money through casinos via Donald Trump. That's why I say the Epstein files is not just about trafficking. It's about a global organized criminal network.
And the CIA is in it. And
I
the
said it before, I'll say it again. I believe that Donald Trump knew who Erica Kirk was long before he ran for president. She said the first time, I guess, when she went to an event or whatever, 16. I believe he already knew who she was. She came through the pageant circuit. We know that Donald Trump was also a part of the pageant circuit. All these people run together. This information that has now been brought forward, I believe it gives Congress every reason to subpoena Donald Trump. Because no, it's not just about Pam Bondi and the cover-up. It's also about people like Donald Trump who are in these files throughout. And according to members of Congress, they said Donald Trump's name appears the most. That's why I said the Epstein files are not partisan. We ain't got no heroes around here, folks. Your heroes are not politicians. The hero is yourself and the people in your community that's fighting every day to take care of their families and to help out people in the community. Those are the heroes. Your heroes are not politicians. They're not celebrities. None of that. And I'm willing to bet you a lot of these people have done some really evil things. In fact, now that I'm mentioning it, let me see if I can find it. I think I have it on my Twitter. I'm pretty sure I do. I'm gonna play this video that Salt from Salt and Pepper, she made this little short video recently that I want you guys to see. Let's see if I can pull it up here. It's just a minute ago. Because she talked about who's really running things. So sorry, guys. Give me a minute. I know I have it here. I should just actually, there it is. Got it. Got it. Listen to this.
Hey y'all, so the cat's out the bag. I've been studying this type of thing for years, but you can't really talk about it because people will think that you're crazy. So now we know Satanists and Luciferians run the world. 2 Corinthians, it describes that Satan is the god of this world. That they own the government, politics, Democrats and Republicans, the court system, the education system, the banks, the Federal Reserve, real estate, farms, Hollywood, what we watch, music, what we listen to, media, what we believe, sports, big pharma, everything. We pay their taxes, we work their jobs, we buy their houses. We don't own anything really, because even if we paid for a house outright, if we miss paying taxes one time, they can take the home.
Everybody hear what? So this is Salt from the rap duo Salt and Pepper. Later on, she started to, I believe she became a born again Christian or whatever.
She's smart.
But whether you're religious or not, I think there's something to what she said there about what is really running things, what is really running the world. A lot of these people, like I said, a lot of these people that are famous, a lot of these people, celebrities or whatever, these people did some evil things to get to where they are. And that includes all of them. I don't care if they're your favorites or not. These people have done some evil things. Because most people don't get there being genuine. Most don't. Professor Morandi said it the best here. Is this why Trump regime is massacring Iranian women and children?
Yeah, I'll be right back. 5, same as last week. A whole lot less money. Excuse my language. I do want to. I don't know why. Because I have to. My bad. I don't know why it's not playing.
Justice Department publishing those documents. It's a sick world. We're in it. But I think that we have to have hope that the good will override the bad. There's a lot of bad people, obviously, in these files. There's a lot of bad people in the world. But I also believe that there's a lot of good. The majority of people are not celebrities. The majority of people are not billionaires, not a part of the Epstein class. There's more of us than them. Always keep that in mind.
Just gotta
Hey
take
guys,
back
this
the
was a
world.
savvy clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.
And you rewrite history is what they've done. They keep doing that over and over. So where does this go? This goes back there. I'm gonna go that way. Let's see. I just turn around right here. Okay, let's turn something else on. Let's see. Sabby's dope. The name of her thing is called Sabby Sab. Sabby Sab. She's got a dope show.
This has been on Breaking News. I'm Ben
Everybody's
Mycelis, and this is
going
your
crazy
breaking
right now,
news.
man.
It looks like there was a direct hit on the U.S. consulate in Dubai by Iranian drones. We can see the footage right here of the U.S. consulate in Dubai, currently on fire right now. You're seeing it right there. We'll show you what the direct impact looked like as well. We're getting some of that footage as well. Should also be noted that we are learning, here it is right here, just so everybody can see what it looked like when this Iranian drone attacked that U.S. consulate in Dubai. A direct hit right there, and that consulate seems to be severely damaged, if not almost completely destroyed. You're seeing it right there on fire. Also, moments ago, we learned that an Iranian one-way attack drone has struck the CIA station in Saudi Arabia. It's being described by the Washington Post and others as a significant symbolic victory by the Islamic Republic that they were able to directly hit this CIA station there. An internal State
I'm gonna have to
Department
tell
alert
them
says
good
that
job
part
on the
of
CIA
embassy's
thing.
roof collapse and smoke-filled sections of the building. The full extent of the damage remains unclear. No injuries among CIA personnel have
Thank
been
God for that.
reported there. We're learning also about a
Thank God there's
potential
no
plan
injuries.
for the United States to support Kurdish volunteers and ground troops as part of a ground invasion of Iran. We are learning from ITV that weapons have been smuggled into Western Iran since last year to arm thousands of Kurdish volunteers. They are expected to begin ground operations within days, ITV News is stating. We've been told by Kurdish sources that American and Israeli forces have been asked to provide air cover when any such ground operation begins. Our sources do not know
So
if
it
that
is gonna
request
happen.
has been approved. We also should just remember the United States betrayed the Kurds very recently in Syria, and basically allowed al-Jilani, the former al-Qaeda leader who now runs Syria, to basically seize control of the autonomous areas in Syria. And so, you know, I find it interesting that we are now begging the Kurds for help after betraying the Kurds, and I'm not fully sure, or in fact I would say I don't believe at all the Trump regime is even thinking through any of this any of the geopolitical aspects of what's really taking place right here. We know as well that there was a call for all American citizens in the Middle East to evacuate. This was put out by the State Department's UN Assistant Secretary of State for Consular Affairs, Maura Namdar, posted on X, the formerly Twitter, this message, security updates for Americans in the Middle East. And the post says, depart now via commercial means due to serious safety risks, and it lists basically every country in the Middle East. I think it's going to be difficult to leave via commercial means when the airports are under attack. I mean, the military airports, the commercial airports, the Strait of Hormuz,